It took me 6 years to learn the best subject lines for cold emails, but I will teach it to you in less than 12 minutes. After testing 100 subject lines for Rafols and Co clients, we saw that 5 of them got more than 70% of the responses. And before you think that this is another video of someone saying use key question or any other template subject line that gurus are selling to you, it's not. We ran a test with 5 million cold emails sent, and all the opinions shared in this video are backed by that. Before I show you the exact examples that got more attention, let's start with some basics on the subject lines. First of all, remember that the subject line is not meant to sell your service or your product or whatever you are selling. The subject line is only there to captivate the attention of the prospect. We need this person to read our email. If he doesn't open the email, there's no way that the copy and the offer inside that gets read. So there's no point on doing all the infrastructure, all the copy, all the email sequencing, everything from a 10 if you are not doing the first part right, the subject line. You don't try to sell anything, you keep it simple, and you try to mimic an internal email. If it seems that it's sent by someone that doesn't know their company or they are not even in the same country, they will 100% just ignore your email and throw it in the trash or even worse, as a spam. So what we want is that they open the email. So we need to get their curiosity and captivate their attention. And before someone comments how did we run this test, I must say that we sent 5 million emails to track this data, but only 100,000 had the open tracking feature enabled. And this is because if you have this open tracking, your email includes an HTML code that makes it easier to land in spam. So keep this in mind through this video. Some of the data that we found is that more than 40% of the top performers are starting with lowercase. 40% of the top performers are starting with lowercase. It's counterintuitive because a lot of people think that if you write in lowercase, it may seem unprofessional, but the thing is that we want to be seen as we wrote this randomly, we didn't take a lot of time into writing the exact perfect subject line, and lowercase seems to be working perfectly fine for that. Another thing that a lot of people will be surprised is that including the semi-personalization first name is not actually giving good results. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use it, but just keep this in mind. If you mention company name, we are getting 24% more results than if you mention the person's name. And this is probably because if you work for a company, you tend to open more the emails if they mention the company name rather than if they mention yours, as your name probably is a spam person and it's not super related to something from your job. So it seems that if you include the company name in the subject line, you get a little bit more responses. The next tip is about how many words you should include in your subject line. We have seen that emails that have 2 to 4 words in the subject line tend to perform better and try to not pass the 30 characters limit. This doesn't mean that you can go beyond, as we have also seen that if you send subject lines with more than 50 characters, but these are super personalized and for the exact person that is receiving these emails, it can work fine. But if you want to scale your campaigns, we recommend that you keep it as low as 20-30 characters maximum and try to keep it at 2-4 words. Apart from that, there's 2 strategies that we also wanted to try, as a lot of people that share this type of test also ran this before. So the first one is adding a forward message in the subject line. This simulates that the person already replied to you in the past, and this is a thread that they are already replying, and it seems like we are waiting for a response because they already replied, and we're in an active conversation. The thing is, this can work and it boosts the replies by 30% in some cases, but the thing is that the replies are mostly negative replies of a lot of people telling you to fuck off and a lot of people saying that they are not interested and they didn't engage in a conversation with you. But it's worth noting that this turns your open rates higher. The other strategy is basically faking a conversation within you and someone from your company. So, for example, Luis, my CEO, is trying to send me an email. It adds me and says, "Hi, I saw what this prospect's company is doing, and I think that it's worth passing to them this opportunity. I later send an email as and I add the customer email and I simulate that I'm trying to engage them in a conversation like they are CC. So this strategy works fine, but the thing is that a lot of people has already burned out by these strategies. And the data that we got is that the reply rates were not crazy. In fact, if you relate to the strategy and you base all the messaging to this, it can work fine, but at the end of the day, you are better using a more honest approach. Apart from these tips, if you want personalized help, you can join our free community down below where we review your copy and subject lines and give our feedback. You can also get our full playbook on how we run Outbound for free without needing to pay an agency any retainer. So without further more to say, I'm going to share the exact subject lines that got more attention in 2026. In the first place, we find it related to events. We have a lot of clients that what they do as part of their acquisition process, it's basically run events in specific locations where their clients are from, and they invite them to join in a restaurant, in a hotel, or whatever strategy that you can follow. The thing is that it's a very good catch for a cold email. If you're wondering, oh, I can actually run those for my company, that's fine. You can also do it with an online webinar or similar approach that you try. The thing is, the subject line that got more responses in this part, it's company name in X event, which basically simulates that they are already invited or that they already form part or that they should be there. And the thing is that as those events are free, and in the cases that it were paid, it's completely different. But the thing is that it captivates the attention a lot, as you're probably receiving this and it's interesting for them to be an event with more people in the industry. My advice is that you A/B test this subject line with similar versions so you can find which works better for your niche. So instead of the original company in X event, you can also test company name event or event company name and just small tweaks that can make a difference. In the second position, we find another subject line that it's very interesting and one of my personal favorites, and it's just dropping a tool that they use. Example, I'm doing cold email and LinkedIn outreach. So what I will do is just mention Smartly. So the subject line will be as simple as that, Smartly. As a lot of people have heard of this tool, they are probably going to be interested as there's nothing else, the subject line is boring as fuck, and they are not going to be wondering what's happening. They are all going to open the email, but the thing is the body of the email needs to be related to the subject line. And this is the part that it's a little bit more difficult if you are starting. So what you need to do is find a tool or site that a lot of your customers go and that you know that they are using that in a daily basis and just mention it. And they will probably be interested. Another one that worked well was not sure company name. The thing is, you can A/B test here. The rule that we talk about the first name, company name doesn't apply. So you can say not sure company name or you can say not sure John. For example, why we think this is happening? Because in both cases you are sparkling curiosity and they are probably wondering what you are not sure about it. So on both cases, similar opens. You can A/B test which work better for your niche. But first of all, please make sure that you are writing all in lower cases and that when you pull company name or first name of the people that you are sending to, clean the list. Because a lot of people are pulling lead lists from Apollo or LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and what they do is just pasting directly into their sequencer. What this does is that when the prospect reads their company name, it reads as Google California LLC or random names that are not natural. And this is a super important part for this example specifically, but also for the other ones. Another one that it's important that the body relates to it is the subject line where you say number of persons inside the department. So it would look like 32 sales reps or 10 ops people team. You need to A/B test all of these small words, but the thing is, it works super good to have this mentioned. because it shows the prospect that you actually did some research on their company and how many people is in that exact team. And if the body of the email relates to it and you offer a good solution for whatever problem they may be facing, it works absolutely well. It's one of the best performing subject lines, but only if used correctly. Otherwise, people will just open the email and throw it in the trash. Lastly, we have two subject lines that are very similar and that got very similar reply rates, and this is regarding company name or just company name alone. On both cases, make sure that the company name is clean, but the thing is that as you are just dropping that and you're not saying more information, a lot of people feel the obligation to just check the email to see if it's actually something important related to the company, or maybe in some cases it's a customer, whatever it is, but it makes them open it. Now we will review a mistake that a lot of people is doing. And they saw online on LinkedIn or whatever post saying that when someone raises funds, they need to send an email to try to captivate their attention and seem as it was well researched. The thing is, when someone actually raises funds nowadays, they get 20 emails from 20 different companies trying to sell their service. And that's fine. You can still use that buying intent signal, but try to position it accordingly. And what I mean with this is that try to be different than everybody else. Instead of using a subject line based on that, saying company names, congrats on the funding, or whatever thing that you are using, try to make sure it's different and that it stands out on their inbox. Apart from that, there's two things that are super important and that most people overlook when they are trying to do this cold email subject lines test. And it's the first line of the body of the email. And the thing is that when a prospect receives your mail, it gets your subject line in black font and they also receive the first words of their email. And there's surprisingly a good amount of people that still sends the "Hi John, I hope this email finds you well." And it didn't find John well. In fact, he didn't want to receive that email. So try to go directly to the point, avoid fake personalization, and make sure that you keep in mind that the first line of the mail will be read before they open your email. Because if you don't take this in mind, they will just throw it again in the trash. And lastly, another thing that is super important is your infrastructure. If your email lands in spam, it doesn't matter what subject line you're using, that they will not read it. So make sure that your infrastructure is set up accordingly. And that's why in our previous video, we walk you through the exact setup that we have for our clients at Rafols and Company so you can copy it. You will also find a link down below in the description so you can access the same inboxes that we use for our clients. And the thing is that they only cost $2.5 per inbox. So it's less than all the other providers that you are probably used to, and they enable you to bypass all the spam filters like crazy. Even if you already have a good inbox provider, my advice would be that you try to test the difference. Without further to say, I recommend that you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any other video. And remember to join our community so we can actually review your subject lines and say if we think that they are going to work or if you can make any changes. See you soon. Bye.